Time now 6:42. We continue to follow the latest developments from the special session in Austin. The move by House Democrats to leave Texas and break quorum.
Yeah, now that quorum is the number of members required to be present for the legislature to conduct business. We want to turn now to CBS News correspondent Ed O'Keefe live in St. Charles. That's near Chicago. Good morning. Now, the Texas House Democratic Caucus has confirmed that some members went to Boston and Albany, New York, but the majority went there to Chicago. Why is that choice significant?
Yeah, so they're in this suburb, Alona, about 40 minutes outside Chicago, where they've decided to, in essence, camp out now for the foreseeable future to rob Texas Republicans of the quorum, as you mentioned, that they need later today in Austin to pass, in the state house at least, that Republican-drawn congressional map. They say they're doing this on behalf of their constituents across the state who don't like what Republicans are up to at the request of President Trump, trying to redraw the map between two censuses before the midterms in what they call a power grab. They understand, as they have done this in the past, that they face consequences back in Texas from the Republican-controlled government. And the other factor we're waiting for today is whether Republican attempts to get these Democrats back are joined at all at the federal level by President Trump, given that he's the one that's been directly involved in getting Republicans to make these changes.
Yeah, and speaking of consequences that you mentioned, the governor here said that some of them or all of them have committed a felony by traveling to Chicago. What does he mean by that?
So he's alleging that they are, in essence, breaking the law by not showing up for work today, and potentially breaking a law by fundraising for the money that they will need to pay the fines that they face for not showing up. It's about $500 a day are the fines they could face. They have sought donations from supporters across the state and from out-of-state Democrats as well to help bankroll not only paying the fines but also the transportation costs of being here. And the governor's alleging that that may be some kind of a bribe. It will have to be left up to a court to decide. The Attorney General, Ken Paxton, also saying they should be arrested. And, you know, again, whether the state House Speaker, the Attorney General, the governor turn to Washington and say, hey, President Trump, is there anything you can do at the federal level to try to get them back from Illinois into Texas? We'll see. This is a Democratic-controlled state. The governor here, J.B. Pritzker, greeted the Texas Democrats when they arrived last night, saying he'll do whatever he can to help them out and supports what they're doing.
Yeah, and joined him in a press conference. Now, we know that this is essentially a boycott, and this same quorum breaking has happened in the past here in Texas, but has it ever worked long term, or does it usually just delay the inevitable?
It usually delays the inevitable, and that's an important point to point out. This has happened at least 2 other times I can recall now this century. The difference this time is, one, the direct presidential involvement. The fact that Trump asked Governor Abbott to do this, some say demanded that he do this, that the governor went along with it and tacked it onto a special session that was expected to be called mostly or only to deal with flood relief after what happened in High Country. And they say they should have been focused on that first, not on this issue. Why were they delaying that legislation and focusing on redistricting first when they could have been focused on flood relief? So, yes, inevitably, this probably will get brought up in the Republican-controlled legislature. But the hope Democrats have is that it raises the national profile of this debate, inspires Democrats in other states to possibly make similar changes to their congressional map if their state law allows it, and build up support in Texas among voters there ahead of next year's elections. I got to say, I was in Dallas last week talking to 2 of the congressmen who are going to see their lines redrawn, and then went to one of those field hearings that was held by the state legislature. Hundreds of people on a steamy Monday night outside Dallas showed up for this, some telling us they had driven hours to be there from Houston, from other parts of the state to testify. That element of this is a little different than what we've seen before, and it's what gives some Democrats, at least politically, hope that perhaps it leads to change after next year's elections.
Okay. Ed O'Keefe live in Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and for your report. Let's turn it over to Kim Castro once